Hi, everyone, and welcome to Directions. My name is Jay West, and I'm your host, and it's so good to have you here today. This particular show is a little bit different. I've got my wife, Rebecca, here with me as a co-host. Say hi to the audience.
Hello, God bless.
And then we have our special guest, Julie Shrader. Hi, Julie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Julie.
So, Julie, we were just talking, we don't pre-script questions or anything.
Yeah.
Give us a little background first about who you are and how you started to get into the ministry you're involved in, and then we'll get more into the involved in the ministry.
I grew up in a broken home like a lot of us, right? And then many years later, through a lot of chaos in my life, homelessness, addiction, alcohol addiction, and through some abusive situations in my life, I became saved and surrendered my life to the Lord. And then He laid on my heart that I needed to help other women. I would have never gathered that. I didn't plan it. I had a really good 9-to-5 job with great benefits and great 401k. And God called me out of it to get paid.
Was that here in
very
Omaha?
little. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Were you raised here in Omaha or in another area?
Yes and no. I was born in Colorado Springs. Then we moved to Council Bluffs. My mom had a nonprofit she started and ran, an animal shelter. And then we moved out to Millard, and I finished school in Millard, and I've pretty much stayed out there since. So yeah.
So, again, not knowing a lot about you other than kind of where we're headed, how did the beginning to work to minister to women, how did that evolve? How did that launch? Did somebody just come to you and say, I need help? Or did you see people? Or did a church person ask you?
It started with women that would just start asking for help. So when I surrendered my heart to the Lord, I became very evangelical. Yeah. And I just wanted to tell the world, you know how, especially when you first surrender, you're just really on fire. This was on fire plus. And I just feel like I was radically changed. I had been so grateful for what God has done in my life. Mm-hmm. And I feel like all the shame and yuck that I had from choices I made in my life started dropping, just pieces of those would drop. And I just got more and more thankful to the Lord. Mm-hmm. And I had a desire, and it was something that I woke up with and something I went to bed with. I just had this strong desire to help women. Mm-hmm. And my pastor's wife at the time said, God's put a burden on your heart. You need to pray into that and see what He's going to have you do. Well.
So she encouraged you.
Yeah, exactly. And then things just started happening. I started meeting people. God ordained these meetings that I look back on. I'm like, well, of course, He introduced me to this person and this person, and then it just grew. And I started with a support group for women, and it grew and grew.
Mm-hmm. A support group that focused on.
Well, at the time, it was just women. I didn't realize, so it was about a year and a half later that the Lord started showing me it was human trafficking. So I didn't know that.
Okay.
I didn't set out to do human trafficking.
Okay.
I didn't know that that's where God was guiding me.
Yeah.
Right.
And I fought Him a little bit on it at
The
first.
steps of a righteous person are ordered by the Lord, and we take the first step, but we don't know where it's going to
Right.
lead us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, my first experience working with a survivor was really, really, really hard. I had not experienced helping someone in those shoes before.
How did that person come to you?
Through a church. through a church, which I didn't even know they had heard of me, and I was just starting. And now I do have a past of sexual exploitation. And so I didn't realize at the time how much intertwined between her story and my story. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know it at the time. But I also didn't understand boundaries. You know, when you're in ministry, you have to practice boundaries too, right? Like you have to also put your spouse before the ministry. You have to put God before your spouse and that whole thing. And so I was just learning that order.
Okay.
You know, and so that was tough to learn at first.
Mm-hmm.
How does a lady get out of trafficking? Do they just walk away?
Sometimes, and it's not really that simple. It's from the women I've talked to, there's probably more women where the person that bought them lets them free. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
But that has
Is it because they just feel like they've served their usefulness and there's somebody younger and more attractive or something?
No, it's because somehow there's a conversation there between the buyer and the person being trafficked. And the buyers don't always know that they're being trafficked. So a buyer may have had a conscience, right? Mm-hmm. And then they felt bad or whatever. And I've heard of them actually letting them go.
Wow.
And so that's part, I mean, it doesn't always happen, but there's been more than a handful of stories like that I've heard. But also sometimes it's literally escaping when their traffickers are asleep. It's finding them an opportunity, you know, them having an opportunity to run. Mm-hmm. It is getting arrested. Mm-hmm. A lot of times getting arrested will actually be a way out for them.
Wow. So can I clarify? So a lot of times you're saying the buyer goes into the agreement thinking that it's consensual.
Yes. They don't know. They don't always know.
I gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm. They don't realize all the time. It depends on the buyer. We know a lot of the buyers generally, like, they have an addiction to pornography. Pornography is a tremendous instigator of trafficking.
Okay.
So you get someone who becomes addicted to pornography. Mm-hmm. They don't realize who they're buying.
Okay.
Now, that's not always the case, but sometimes that is the case.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Are the majority of the buyers here in the United States?
Oh, I mean, they're everywhere. But I would say the United States is probably the largest consumption of trafficking because of the money in the United States. Oh my gosh. So you have a lot of buyers that will actually fly to Thailand, fly to other countries just to purchase children.
Oh, that's so evil.
Or purchase victims.
That is so evil.
And they know. I mean, they know.
Mm-hmm.
So evil. And so how much of a problem is it here in our city, in Omaha? It's huge.
It's huge because of our interstate system and how it connects. Think about how the interstate system is. It's smack dab in the middle of our country, mm-hmm. or I mean of our state. Mm-hmm. And it connects to all these different highways and side roads mm-hmm. to other states. It's a perfect way to transport victims.
Are there areas of our city that are really well known for that to happen?
There is. Mm-hmm. Douglas County is a hot spot. Douglas County, out in Valley's a hot spot. Papillion's a hot spot. West Omaha, just in general, is a hot spot. A lot of people think it's North or South Omaha. A lot of it happens in West Omaha, in hotels, over a lunch break.
In hotels?
Yes.
All kinds of hotels?
Yes, all kinds of hotels. Anywhere from your Motel 6 to your Hiltons.
Wow. So our eyes are being opened. How do you navigate initially helping somebody? when they first come to you, or you first come to them? I don't know how that works, you know, you first encounter them. What are some of the first steps that you're taking with them? They've obviously been through trauma, perhaps abuse, all sorts of things that they've experienced and encountered that they never had encountered before.
Yeah. Well, assessing their needs. So I want to assess where they're at mentally at the moment, because that changes. If they just got out of the bad situation, they're still in trauma mode and survival, fight or flight. And so a lot of it's fight or flight. So I just assess where are they at today mentally, where are they at today spiritually. Are they even willing to hear anything about the Lord? Some are, some aren't. And some have actually been abused by religion, abused in the name of Jesus. And that is unfortunately pretty common, and where they want nothing to do with Jesus. And that's hard. But try to figure out where they're at even medically. What medical needs do they need to see a doctor right now? Do they need an ER? Can we get a therapist here ASAP so that she can get even started on therapy and start talking through it if she's ready? Does she just need rest? Does she need detox? Depends on the drugs. And alcohol, if they're addicted to alcohol, they might need detox for that. So there are so many different factors that come into play when I get introduced, or there's a referral, and then trying to best serve her where she's at today.
Wow.
And then what will she need?
Do you have some sort of ministry center or something that you do this from?
Yeah, I have an office that I do my work from. Of course, I will talk to quite a few survivors over the phone. I'll do that anywhere at my house, throughout the night sometimes.
Do you have a website that people can contact you?
I do, yep.
So we can scroll that on the bottom of the screen. You wanted to share what it is right now? Do you mind?
You bet. InnocenceFreed.org.
Innocence?
All one word, yep. InnocenceFreed.org.
Okay.
Okay, we'll make sure that's scrolled multiple times.
Yeah.
I don't even know what questions to ask. My mind is swirling with questions.
Yeah.
Are a lot of the ladies this lady's primarily that you minister to now, are there men
Yes.
involved in human trafficking?
Oh, yes, there are. But the Lord has called me to help women
Okay.
and girls.
Okay.
So
are a lot of the clients, I don't know what to call them, I'm sure you have a better name.
you can call them clients.
Are they, most of them, are they from this area, or are they from all over the United States?
They're all over.
Okay.
All over.
Do you try to then, after you've helped them and get healthy and everything, do you try to get them home from wherever they're
It depends. Sometimes home is not feasible, because sometimes home and where they came from is where their traffickers are, or family members that trafficked them. That's unfortunately a high amount of trafficking. Familial trafficking is pretty substantial.
So husbands, spouses, boyfriends,
Mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles. Yep. A lot of fathers. True. I mean, it's not as much dad or mom selling their daughter for drugs. It's more so from what I've experienced in my own 13 years, is because of some weird satanic cult.
Oh my gosh.
You want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's otherwise known as satanic ritual abuse. I add the word trafficking because 90% of the sexual or the satanic sexual abuse of humans involves trafficking because of the rituals.
Wow.
So, and it usually starts at a very young age. And I have to be careful when I talk about it, because it's a lot to hear. and it can traumatize other people. But it is done in the name of Satan himself or a deity or spirits, and done to give them power. So they get power, they get promised things. It is to increase their finances. If they trade this child's virginity to Satan. I mean, it's no different than what happened years ago biblically.
It's like sacrificing to an idol.
It's exactly what it is.
For their own welfare.
That's exactly what it is. And a lot of people think it ended in the Bible. Mm-hmm. It didn't.
A lot of people think a lot of things ended in the Bible.
I know.
So
it didn't, because here's my theory on it. If Jesus is the same today, or yesterday, today, and forever, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we know that Satan also doesn't change his tricks either. Mm-hmm. So if he did it then, why wouldn't he do it today?
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Just adapting to the culture.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So what is the so evil. And you don't have to share if you want to, you're involved in a church. What do fellow Christians think of your ministry? What do people just think, oh, this doesn't really, it's not a big deal, even though it's talked about a lot.
I know.
At certain times of the year, major sporting events and so on, do people just kind of think, oh, it's not really that big a deal, or?
Yeah, they do. And I'm going to be really honest, some of the churches don't do a good job addressing it or having people on staff that can help survivors. I know of survivors that have gone to the church for help, and the church doesn't know what to do. Wow. They don't know what to do. The other thing is, too, there is a naive behavior or attitude in the church that this doesn't happen in their church.
Right.
There's no way that there's people in that, and in their church seats right now that are being trafficked or have been. And that's sad, because I know quite a few survivors that were trafficked actually in churches.
What's interesting, I just read an article yesterday about how many pastors actually don't leave their church. They're involved in Bible studies, events, all day, all week long. They never leave their church.
Yeah.
They're just there, and they never get outside
in the world
to see what's going on. They didn't even get outside to witness or pray with a stranger or whatever. Everything is like
focused on their own flock.
like a doctor working in a hospital. The doctor doesn't do medical practice on the street unless he's a believer and goes to a mission field.
Right.
And so a pastor doesn't do his ministry.
That's a good point.
They just stay inside their building, and they're totally secluded almost.
That's a good point.
And if they're a pastor of a big church, they have layers of staff that keep them secluded.
Yep. That is.
So they don't really have a clue whether it's your ministry or Sure Women's Center or any number of other youth ministry, teen challenge, whatever.
Yeah.
Youth for Christ. They don't know what's going on.
That's right. That's good point. So, I'd love for that to change.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have 8 minutes left. That's a bit of time.
Yeah.
How can people help your ministry? Talk about funding. It's okay to talk about funding here.
Okay.
You can't sell anything here, but talk about how money comes to your ministry and what
Yeah. So a lot of it has to do with me approaching people and asking. I meet with a lot of people all through the week, month, and different people, businesses, churches.
How many people are on your staff?
Well, everybody right now is volunteer. We're all volunteer right now.
Okay.
Yep. So I run everything volunteer until I can't do that anymore.
Got you. And so what are your expenses?
I just created this. So I just finished our business plan and our budget. And right now our expenses are $2,500 a month. Wow. And that is programming costs. So books, workbooks, curriculum for our program. Mm-hmm. Now the Lord also said it's time for me to write my own program or curriculum. Wow. So I have begun the process, which I never, ever, ever thought I'd do either, of creating a program or a curriculum specifically for trafficking and sexual exploitation.
Okay.
And it includes, I actually have a Christian therapist who is licensed and will be helping me write the trauma pieces. And between she and I, we'll get it done. We hope to actually sell it next year.
Wow.
So, and it'll be a whole curriculum with all the trauma pieces, addiction, and then, of course, all the verses that mm-hmm. Jesus provides us for healing. Mm-hmm. And so funding will be going to that. It hasn't gone for it yet. So I'm actually paying for all that myself right now. And so these are things for other things that girls that we buy. Furniture if they need it. And if I don't get it donated and she needs stuff for her apartment, we provide that, or we try to get that. Now, the furniture project I have partnered with as well, and they provide needs. But food, toilet paper, things like that, mm-hmm. you have to purchase. So there's a lot of those things mm-hmm. that we need for our program, but also women need who need that little.
I saw Open Door Missions doing this weekend, a big toilet paper.
Yeah.
They're asking
yeah.
people to donate
they need a ton of toilet paper.
And it's just interesting. You don't think about some of those things until they
True.
Truly get. And I think about New Life Thrift with Steve Sheridan.
Yeah.
And a lot of his ministry goes to the Hope Center, but mm-hmm. Just places like that where furniture could be acquired recently.
Right.
And
so how can people donate to your ministry, those tangible things?
Yeah.
Can they do that?
Yeah. So there is Wednesdays from 10 to 1. We have a drop-off time for donations such as that. And I've got people in the office that come in and help answer phones and do administrative duties throughout the week. And one of those times is every Wednesday from 10 to 1.
Wow. Where's your office?
It is on 90th and Fort. It's right across the street from the Humane Society.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In that little strip mall.
Okay.
So we got 4 minutes left. You may have to be concise. Walk us through somebody who's successfully gone through your program and is now out.
Yeah.
Without naming names, but just tell us a little bit about their story and back to somewhat of a normal life.
So they're someone who came through the program that I ran for 12 years. She, one of the girls I'm thinking of now, she works full time. She's been consistent for years since she left, which would have been 3.5 years ago. About 3.5 years ago, she left, working in the same industry, and is just proficient and wonderful in her career, and lives on her own. Helps foster cats. Yeah,
that's nice.
It's awesome.
That's nice.
But it's also fulfilling for her. Goes to church, reads her Bible, and will struggle. When there's a struggle, she'll reach out to me or other people in her life. And it's a wonderful thing to see that. This young lady's been a huge success story. Mm-hmm. And she even left the program early when she was in the program. Mm-hmm. So there are other women right now. There's one right now who is actively seeking Jesus, just constantly wanting to know more and more and more about Jesus, wanting to do Bible studies all the time, and just feels that need to just get closer to him. Mm-hmm. That's a huge win.
Wow.
And even though she's not living on her own yet, and she's living somewhere else, it's still a huge win. And she's getting a job. She's in school. These are wonderful things. Getting, even as simple as getting a driver's license,
Right.
even getting a
So,
GED.
you have a minute and a half left. How does somebody contact you? Besides the website, is there a phone you can share or not?
Yeah, they can call 402-882-3733.
Okay, and maybe it's not them calling, but I mean, you talk about parents trafficking their children right here in Omaha, and you're a neighbor, and suddenly a little girl is no longer not playing in the neighborhood, and you're not seeing her anymore. You see all the rest of the family, you don't see this one little girl, and nobody's reported her missing. There's not pictures up of like she's been kidnapped or anything.
Yeah.
That would be a sure tell sign that maybe something strange is
Maybe
going on.
something's up. Yeah, and it is hard to know whether or not a household is selling a child out of there.
Right.
It's really hard because so many people mind their own business still.
Right.
They don't pay attention to
Right.
where the little girl might be.
Right.
Right. That could be a whole nother show.
Yeah.
What to do, how to.
I could talk about this for hours.
Yeah.
We'll have you back.
I'm just shocked that it's so evil, and I'm so thankful for your ministry and what you're doing to help women.
Thank you.
And it's just interesting to see how the Lord has walked you through different levels of.
So tell the name of the ministry one more time.
Innocence Freed.
Innocence Free.
Yep.
.org.
.org.
Okay.
Yep.
And we'll put the phone number on the screen again. Julie Shrader, thanks so much. I'm sorry, time is up.
Yeah.
Share the program with others. I rarely say that. Share this program with others and encourage other people to watch it. It's an important topic.
And pray for Julie.
Yes. Thanks for
Please
tuning in
do.
today.
Yeah.
God bless you. We'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.